So I decided to watch Grimm in 2024. And I can't lie, I'm hooked. I truly did not expect this show to get me the way it did, man. Cause when I first saw it, I thought it was just one of those corny CW shows, like Once Upon a Time, Vampire Diaries, all that trash. My first time coming across this show was a random clip on YouTube of Adeline telling Nick that she was pregnant. I didn't know what was going on, but I ended up watching the whole clip. Then they recommended a fight between Juliet and Adeline. Already saw one clip, might as well watch another one. Then I get recommended another one, and before you know it, I'm 6 seasons deep, 100-something episodes later, here we are. And with all the lore I just acquired throughout these couple of weeks, man, I gotta talk about it, man. I gotta say something. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before we do, welcome to the official My Childish Nature page. Hope you enjoy your stay. And if you do end up liking it, go ahead and subscribe, man. Let YouTube know I'm one of them. And with that being said, let's get into it. So right out the gate, I gotta say that Grimm has some of the most enjoyable characters from the show that I've seen thus far. Unlike other shows, there's not a single character in here that I can really say that I hate. Now there's a couple that I find annoying, but we're gonna get to that when we get to it. As for the positives, we can start off with our main man, Nick. Now Nick, he a good dude, man. He a good dude. You know what I'm saying? Good heart, protective, determined, kind of a typical protagonist, I can't lie. Now by calling him a typical protagonist, I'm not saying that he's like Superman levels of generic. Like he has intriguing things about him, you know what I'm saying? For instance, sometimes he has to go against police protocol to do some morally questionable things. He'll be having his police force track murders he committed. And those plot points is always a point of interest for me personally. Another thing I noticed about Nick, dude wears his heart on his sleeve, man. Like in the beginning, I don't know if y'all noticed, but it feel like Nick is giving way more effort into his relationship than Juliet is. Now I'm not saying Juliet don't love Nick, it's obvious she does. But it's also obvious that Nick is way more head over heels than she is. But maybe that's just me though, I don't know. And speaking of Juliet, let's get into her character because looking at the discourse online, it seemed like nobody liked this chick, man. I seen people say she annoying, her character don't do nothing, the worst character in the show. Now me personally, I don't hate Juliet, I'm gonna be real. Like I can understand a lot of y'all problems with her. I just can't bring myself to hate her. Mostly because she's just not that interesting to care about. So hey, for the majority of Juliet's screen time up until season 4, her personality trait is just being Nick's girlfriend. That's it. They did her character dirty, man. Like we really know nothing about this woman. Like where's her family at? Where's your mom at? Other than being a vet, what do you do when you're not around Nick? Now, although I didn't care about her in the earlier episodes, I gotta say they more than made up for it in season 4, man. Making her the villain was the best decision for her character. I stand by that. And Eve was the worst. Can't stand her. Get rid of it. Next, we got Moro, aka the ride or die, man. Nick show up to his doorstep with a mission, and Moro is on time and like, bet, where we at? Moro is the geek with a dark past. An intriguing dark past at that, because anytime they bring up what he used to be like back in the day, that'd be the highlight of the episode. I'm like, let's explore that, man. Let's get more into that. Always giving out history lessons that nobody asked for, but I'm here for it. I want to know more. Monroe is just a solid dude, man. He say what he mean and he mean what he say. Definition of a respectable man, man. Next up is Hank, Nick's detective partner. Now Hank is yet another solid dude, man. He's stern, kind of got that old school uncle energy to him. Oh! Like every now and then, he be talking to Nick and his friends like they little kids, like he about to take his belt off and whoop him. Teeth be gritting and everything, man. This dude is old school. Other than that, we got Rosalie, just a wonderful woman, man. Just a wonderful, beautiful woman. Big heart, caring, you know what I'm saying? Compassionate. She kind of like the mother of the show. Any of the characters got an issue, they're running to Rosalie. Even if they're the villain, they run into Rosalie. Now that being said, just because she's sweet don't mean she's sweet. Don't get it mixed up. Just ask Adeline, my personal favorite character of the show. Watching Adeline's character arc throughout this show is very entertaining. To the point where I'd say anytime she interacted with the main cast in the early seasons, it was always the best episodes of the season. To me, Adeline managed to transform from a vindictive, traitorous, charming yet conniving little chick into a loving little softie that wears her heart on her sleeve. Just like Nick. These two was made for each other. Adeline just always manages to be entertaining whenever she's on screen, man. Unless you're with the Royals. I don't like the Royals. Not including Sean though. He's solid. Not as a person, but as a character. You know what I'm saying? Because Sean is shady. Sean is the character that has no sides in the show. He works for himself. Whatever benefits him, that's where he's going. Sean Bernard is the stern captain of the police force and the royal reject. Sean is also another person who never disappoints with their personal storylines. He's never somebody you can fully trust, but when you need him, he there sometimes. And of course, we cannot end this character section without mentioning my dude Wu, the dry humor king, and Trouble, my second favorite character in the show, man. Trouble is the definition of on site. This chick is a thug. All they gotta do is say the name and she coming back with their heads, man. She don't play games. She catch bodies, and I love it. And yeah, man, that's about all the characters I care to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Now let's move on to the story.
Nick Burkhart's evolution is best expressed through his haircut's evolution.
Welcome to the kingdom.
The story of Grimm is an interesting one, and it's a story that I don't quite understand 1000%. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But for now, let's start with the basics. Grimm is about a young detective, Nick Burkhart, as he discovers his abilities to see creatures that nobody else can see. And not only that, but he also comes from a long line of people with the same ability, called Grimms, who not only has the ability to see these creatures, but also the strength and power to defeat them. And through Nick's journey, he finds that not all of these creatures, or Vessin, what they're called in the show, are bad. He learns to help some of them, and even becoming longtime friends with a few. He even goes as far as cuffing and starting a family with a Hexen beast, a Vessin that's been a Grimm's biggest op for centuries. At its core, Grimm is about knowing one's history and heritage, and passing down that history to the next generation. While at the same time, it's also about understanding the wrongdoings of your ancestors and righting those wrongs, breaking generational curses. Grimm shows through its main characters of Nick, Moro, Rosalie, Adeline, Sean, that you don't have to do what your ancestors did. You can be the change that sparks a whole new path in your bloodline, a better path. I don't know about y'all, but that's a story I could get behind, man. Sound good enough. Sound great, actually. And the mini arcs we get every season only expands on the greatness. And it's also where things get confusing because, all right, let's get into this. Season 1. What exactly is the point of the Reapers? Maybe they said it and I just forgot. They set them up from episode 1, but what was their point? It seemed like near the end of season 1, we kind of just leaned more into Adeline being the antagonist and just threw the Reapers to the wayside, never truly understanding their purpose. Or maybe I just wasn't paying attention, I don't know. Then we go into Juliet turning into a Hexen beast in season 4. I love that storyline. It's the main reason why season 4 is my favorite season. My only question is, how exactly did she turn into a Hexen beast? Because it was never thoroughly explained. It was just something that happened as a side effect to Nick getting his powers back. At first I was thinking maybe it's because Adeline was a Hexen beast and she turned into Adeline. So in the time being, while being Adeline, she kind of picked up her powers, but that wouldn't make sense because Adeline got pregnant as Juliet. If we going off that logic, then Kelly would have been Juliet's baby and not Adeline's. But obviously Kelly is 1000% Adeline's baby, so that can't be the case of... I'm confused, bro. Like I said, man, I love this season. I just don't understand exactly how Juliet became a Hexen beast. And I got more things to get at for this show, but those are way more of nitpicks than they are of me being confused. So I'll hit those when I do another video, probably ranking every season of Grimm. Y'all let me know if y'all want to see that. That being said, let's move on to the vibe. The first thing I noticed about this show, and the first thing that gravitated me towards the show, was the vibe, man. This show has a vibe of 2000s grittiness and edginess. Like off that first clip, I could have swore this show came from the 2000s. Something similar to like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It just got a certain energy to it, to where if Nickelback, Goo Goo Dolls, Kevin DeGraw start playing in the background, I swear I would not be surprised, man. Almost every shot we get of outside in this show is always either rainy, gloomy, cloudy skies, leaves falling, chilly outside. With that type of setting, I couldn't have found this show at a better time. Because that's exactly what outside look like right now. I found this show somewhere around late September, early October. It's raining outside, a little chilly, the leaves starting to change. I'm walking in this weather, going to the library, ready to work. I get in there and just end up binge watching a bunch of clips from season 4, man. Well, clips and reactions. Shout out to Cara. Before I even knew what the show was about, I was just so addicted to the vibe, man. And like I said, with the way it was feeling outside that day, perfect timing. If you ever needed a perfect show to binge watch every October, this show, with its vibes of being spooky, gritty, gloomy, yet nostalgic, is the perfect show for that, man. Besides how you're wet, I think I done found my October routine. So shout out Grimm, and shout out My Babysitter's a Vampire for carrying a similar vibe, although being a lot more cheesy.